I really love to lift other people up. A Gallup study, they reported that more than 180 million people reported the data, and they found out that 13% of us consider ourselves happily engaged at work. And those who do rate themselves as happy are 36% more motivated, 6 times more energized, and twice as productive as their unhappy counterparts. What happens in our home translates over what happens when we go to work. And what happens at work often translates into our home life too. Realizing that there's a program in your organization to help you as a parent can be empowering, and understanding, your employees need this and better off and more productive and more happy in their lives. And that equates to your business growing and changing too.
Hey Heather, welcome to Business Club. And what we're trying to do here is we're doing a small business spotlight, and trying to understand more about your business and, how your journey has been, so that it could be an inspiration to people who are going to start this at their end. And maybe you can share some insights that'll help them. At the same time, we'd love to know more about you, your background, what you've done and all that stuff. So we'll go through a series of questions, and feel free. This is an open mic, so feel free to express yourself and then talk a little bit about the services that you offer and things like that.
All right.
Sounds good?
That sounds great.
All right. Let's get started with your background and journey. Where did you start? What made you start your business, Momentor, or everything that you started, right?
Oh, goodness. Well, if I go back, my entire childhood, my parents always said, start your own business, work for yourself. And, from a young age, I babysat and did all kinds of jobs that I could be,
right,
self-employed or independent. And, fast forward, I had many different jobs as a teenager. And when I wrapped up college, I decided I was going to move to Charlotte. And I didn't know anybody.
Where were you before?
What's that?
Where were you before?
I was in Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Detroit?
No, the other side of the state. Oh. So the west side of the state. Okay. Grand Rapids area.
Right. Okay.
So then, so I moved to Charlotte. I didn't know anybody. I had found my roommate on a classified ad back when those were a thing.
Craigslist?
No, it was like a classified ad in the Charlotte Observer. That makes me feel really old to say that.
That's okay. I mean, the world has changed. So
it's always changed. I'm sure my teenager doesn't even know what a classified ad is. So, I found a roommate, came down, and just figured it out. I just had a lot of ambition, and I did 60 plus interviews when I got here.
Oh.
Anybody who would talk to me, informational interview, job interview that I knew that I didn't want, I would take it. I just was very curious about the place, about Charlotte, and just really loved the weather here.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Better than the snow.
Yeah.
And so that was what brought me here. It took a few years being here to kind of work my way up in the corporate world. My last role in the corporate world was director of marketing for a network engineering firm. Was an amazing opportunity. And in 2002, I met with our CEO, who was my boss, and I said, I really want to be my own boss. I really want to go out on my own. And he said, really? And a couple months later, he came to me and said, are you ready? And I was like, oh, yeah, I think I am. And actually worked part-time for them for about a year and a half, and really got my legs and started my marketing and design firm.
2002. Wow, that's like 22 years. Awesome. You have a great experience and a great story to tell. So great. So when did you move from Michigan to Charlotte?
97.
5 years before. Okay. All right. So how come, after you started your design firm, marketing and design firm, looks like you switched to Momentor, your company. When did that switch happen? And let's just go through a little bit back. First, explain how was it with your marketing and design firm? What did you do? what was your journey like, and how did you use that experience to start Momentum?
Ooh. So I've really enjoyed being in the creative space, and it was always a pivot too. In that, I would start. For instance, I started out thinking I was going to do a lot of website work, and I realized pretty soon that's not really what I love doing. And I could partner with other people who were web developers, web designers who were amazing at that and really like to sit in their seat and program and do things. And I just like to say, this is how I want it to look. And so I ended up just figuring out along the way what I was really good at, what I really enjoyed doing, what I wanted to outsource, and took it from there to also look at the market and say, all right, what are my clients needing right now? About 2014, I realized a lot of my clients needed some support for their creative teams from a coaching perspective. And I had already been in coaching myself since 2009 is when I started. I hired my first coach. And it was really helpful for me to have gone through a lot of coaching at that point to be able to offer a level of coaching to creative teams, marketing teams, individuals who were in my client space in their creative team. And that's where I started coaching.
Okay. And when did the Momentum happen?
In 2020, when everything went crazy.
COVID, of course.
COVID. And so that was a pretty pivotal moment for me. I had just come back from a big trip, an international trip, and everything sort of shut down. A lot of my clients were not engaging. A lot of them were really fearful about what was going on, and I was fearful.
In the marketing and design world.
Yeah, yep, and it was. It was a good time to really evaluate too. Like I felt a little burned out in that space.
Right.
So I decided to go get my yoga teacher certification.
Yeah.
Which essentially I thought this will be a way that I can really understand. I'd already been practicing for 10 years and really believe yoga has gotten me through so many different pieces of
yoga and meditations are two good tools too.
Absolutely, and that's a part of yoga, right? And so using yoga in my life made me realize that it could be a part of something else that I was going to do next. So became a yoga guide and really started thinking about all of the conversations I was having with friends, with family, with neighbors, with anybody. And I kind of joke around sometimes that there's this like little sign on my head that I can't actually see, but it says, "Tell me more." And I really, I'm grateful it's there because it's a sign that people feel they can trust me and they feel comfortable
absolutely
sharing stuff with me. And I am a vault for all of that. And really, so my original company name was Vaulted, and but maybe not. Vaulted, yes. And that's too, I don't know, too dry.
That's okay.
And I began to really think about what was in common with a lot of the people I was talking to, and a lot of them were talking about their relationships with their parents, with their siblings, with their children, and I discovered that I had a lot of experience navigating a lot of those things. I had been through fertility stuff with trying to have a family. I had been through moving away from my family. I had been through losing loved ones. I had been through a divorce. I had been through a separation.
I have a teenage son too.
Yes, and I've become a mother, and that was all just a part of the journey that kind of really helped me see for other people some of what was going on, or just being a support to other people. Thus began
the journey of
mission, yeah. And I wrote my own curriculum and launched a pilot group in 2021. Steve Gatter was a coach in that space that it sort of said, okay, yes, you can pivot, Heather. You don't have to go back to marketing. You can do something different. And sometimes we just need that little push that we can change or we can do something different. Even if we were really successful at something else, we can be successful at a new thing too.
Cool. So, what lessons or what did you take from your marketing and design experience that you implemented in the Momentor movement, if you will?
So, yeah, a lot of pieces moved with me. So I've got the marketing background. I knew what I wanted my brand to be and say, and building out my marketing materials was much easier for me, I think, than a lot of others.
Okay.
And when I fast forward into 2022, I decided I wanted to do an actual parent coaching accreditation certification. So I became a certified parent coach, and in that became a peer to all of these other parent coaches around the world, and all the way to New Zealand, and I were peers from the training and the education that I went through, which I just think is so valuable to really see a bigger picture in that space too. And the curriculum was amazing. Really took me deeper into understanding brain science and understanding attachment and understanding a lot of the psychology under our relationships.
Is this a curriculum that you built or was something that you leveraged?
So that's the curriculum I leverage.
Okay. And then you built your own curriculum?
I have my own curriculum too.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and then once you built that, I'm sure you had a go-to-market plan, and then you also had some pricing. So how did you go about doing that? The reason I'm asking all this is going to be very helpful for somebody who wants to become a coach or a parent coach in particular and would like to know what are the steps involved.
Sure. Yeah. And, I'm still navigating them too. And that's just like with my marketing and design firm, it's always paying attention to what's going on and what people need and what people want. A Gallup study, this was really interesting. They reported that more than 180 million people reported the data, and they found out that 13% of us consider ourselves happily engaged at work.
Wow.
And those who do rate themselves as happy are 36% more motivated, 6 times more energized, and twice as productive as their unhappy counterparts. And because I know that what happens in our home translates over to
absolutely, yeah.
what happens when we go to work, and what happens at work often translates into our home life too. So it occurred to me and in researching and just staying up on my industry and what's going on, a lot of parents are struggling and really want more help.
Right.
There's a lessened stigma, I think, around getting some help in our relationships, in our parenting. And there's a lot of demand for mental health help in the world right now. I think that the statistic it's astronomical. Like half of those who want help can't get it.
Right.
So it's really, it's a movement and a moment in time where there are people out there who aren't therapists or aren't psychologists who can help us learn new ways of being in our relationships and can help us navigate some of our conversations with our kids, some of the moments that are really hard in our family relationships, from how we deal with elderly parents to how we take care of our grandchildren. It's such a dimension. It's a vast generational thing. And when we can recognize something that has gone on and something that we had in our childhood or in our upbringing and in our journey that we do or do not want to carry down to our kids and to our grandkids. And, those are big moments for us to be able to go,
Right.
I can decide right now that I'm going to heal this for me and not pass this down. Or, oh, that's something that really, really was so good for me. And I really want to share that with my son and my daughter, my grandchildren. And
Cool. So, from a business perspective, how do you determine? How do you find those clients or potential clients of yours? And then somebody might be having this challenge of, okay, what's the right price to pay? So how do you discern that?
looking at other programs that are very similar has been helpful to decide what that pricing would look like. And the way that I work with corporations and organizations, I do a group program, which tends to bring down the price a lot
Yeah, of course, per person.
per person. And a lot of times the organization is sponsoring
Okay.
the program.
Because it's so important.
Yes. Yep. And that really can bring that to somebody who may not be able to afford it, or who may, really be struggling and not even realize that there is help out there. And even just realizing that there's a program in your organization to help you as a parent can be empowering and understanding, your employees need this and are better off and more productive and more happy in their lives. And that equates to your business growing and changing too.
And then from one thing leads to the other, more referrals, and that's how you I'm sure your new business comes from a lot of referrals.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. So you, in our conversation before, you mentioned the word called philomath. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think I would not say philomath. I don't know.
Philomath. What exactly is that?
So it was interesting. I did an assessment some years ago one of the Strengths 2.0, Strength Finders 2.0.
Yeah.
And it came up as, Heather, you're a philomath. It was the number one thing on my list. And I was like, I do not even like math. I have no idea what this thing has determined about me. A philomath is a lifelong learner.
Okay.
I had to go look it up, which is kind of PHILOMATH. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely right.
Lifelong learner is called a philomath?
Philomath, yeah.
Okay. And then...
There's a word for that.
Wow.
Okay.
And you said you worked with over 15 coaches being a philomath.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And, in training, and, I've done my yoga teacher training. I've gotten degrees. I've gone back and taken multiple classes, languages. I'm really interested in learning.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, because, in Business Club, the K stands for knowledge. You're a continuous seeker of knowledge, and it never ends.
Every time I see a K, and you like anybody spelling something with a K, I think of you.
Kind of branded. Maybe I should trademark it.
You should.
So what are some of the foundations of your company, Mentor and Parent Coaching?
Some of the foundations. There are a few things that are really important to me, and when I'm coaching parents, to the impact of everything that we do as a parent, for instance, impacts our children. Whether we take that extra 5 minutes and do something that, listen to them, tell a story about something that's probably I don't know, one of my best examples is some of my clients have shared, oh my gosh, my child wants to tell me about this Roblox adventure that they went on, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and I thought, that's so neat that their child wants them to share in that part of their life.
Right.
And as a parent, we get to choose how we show up in those moments too. Are we going to be like, I don't really want to know about this Roblox, I don't understand it at all, or are we like, wow, that's really interesting, I had no idea about that, what the Roblox even were, and
Yeah,
what was
I
that?
don't have.
And they correct me.
Right.
Me either. And, that's what you want to dress as for Halloween? Oh, okay. I get it. And then we get to, go do a little research on the back end and make sure it's all, on the up and up and
Yeah.
all of that. So, that's one of the things that I think is really important in what I do too, is being able to listen to people and hear where they are and hear what's going on for them. And again, being, a safe place.
Oh, it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a good listener and giving that safe space.
Yes. Yeah. And so many of us don't have somebody who will just listen to us unbiased and give us, a healthy listening ear and healthy feedback if we ask for it. Sometimes we don't want it either. And that's okay too.
You call it the no judgment zone.
Yes. Okay. Yes. And that's the feedback also that I've gotten from those who have gone through my programs. They really love that there isn't judgment in the room and that they don't feel it from the other participants in the group. They don't feel it from me. And they aren't feeling it from themselves, like the shame or the guilt. Like even the blame. Like it's a blame-free zone.
Blame-free zone.
And
no judgment zone.
Yes. Yeah. And that goes back to, like, for instance, one of the things that I teach, and I think I've shared this with our group before, is a parenting paradigm. So there's a power over parenting paradigm. I use 3 of them: a power under parenting paradigm and a power with parenting paradigm. And that's really power over is often an authoritarian type of parenting style. Do as I say, kind of parenting style.
A little bit assertive.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Power under is what a lot of us were back in the 70s, like latchkey children. Power under parents may just be very permissive or may just not be super engaged with their kids.
Okay. You do your thing, I do my thing.
Yeah.
Meet someone.
Like I had you take care of yourself. Right? Here's key to the house. And then there's power with. And that's
it's like a friend.
Well, not a friend even as much. It's just a mentor and a person there that they can count on as a child. And,
No judgment zone. Okay.
Right. And that's hard to do as a parent, too. Especially when we grow up. Like, one of the invitations I give is think about what your parenting style you received. Right? And it may be from each of your parents was a different parenting style.
Absolutely, yeah. Two opposites, yeah.
Yeah. And then I even have gone into some really great conversations with clients about, okay, so talk to your sibling about what they felt the parenting style was at your house. And I have discovered that it can be dramatically different between siblings even.
Between siblings, their experience with their parents.
Yes. At different age groups, siblings with totally different experiences. Male, female, age gaps. And, and then one of the other invitations is to think about, well, what do you notice about your parents' parents? What have your parents shared with you about their parents?
Right.
Right? And this isn't ever to bring blame into the situation, because that ship has sailed, and we are who we are, good and bad,
right? Because
of how we were brought up and how we've navigated through the world.
Circumstances.
Yeah, and it's not about blame; it's just about understanding. That makes sense why my mom was really over bickering on that, or it makes sense why my parents, were handing me a key and telling me, let yourself into the house and make yourself some macaroni when you get home, right? Because, their work ethic was so strong, and they, really felt like they had to work a lot and bring money into our home and have things. And it's so interesting to look into some of those tools that I teach.
Cool. So, in your note to me, you talked about a little bit about engagement groups, parent engagement groups.
Yep.
So can you elaborate a little bit on that? What exactly is that, and How should you go about?
The parent engagement groups are really focused on working with organizations. It can be a religious organization. It can be a company, a community. Yep. Your neighborhood, your group of athlete parents. That
Like a cohort.
yes, and what it gives you, and then the other on the other hand of that. The other collaborators that really are amazing in this space are human resources folks and anybody who's working with an employee benefits package or employee what's the word I'm looking for? Employee assistance
Programs, that is for Rabbi.
I always forget what that's called. Yes, employee assistance programs can be really good collaborators for me in that, because they can assemble people who they know are interested in this within their organization. And
Does diversity program help? And most of these companies have diversity and inclusions. So will that be a parent engagement group?
I hadn't thought about that. So I love that idea.
You like it?
Yeah, I do. And I think there's such a value too in seeing how different parents, back to the parenting paradigms, like there's a whole nother aspect of parenting paradigms when you consider people who have grown up in another country,
Right.
or who have parents
Different race.
from another country, or have grown up in a totally different environment than others that they work with.
Yeah, for some of us, it's a culture shock here when we come here. But we adapt and we get acclimatized, so it's all good. But every country has got its own character, so So again, no judgment zone here. Cool. So what are some of the programs and services that you offer to your clients, and how long does it last? What do you expect them to do, and what would be the outcome of it?
Oh, goodness.
Too many
It's a
questions.
big question. So right now I'm offering three levels of programming. So one is an intro call where we can talk about what you have going on. Maybe
Is that free?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's complimentary.
Free. Complimentary is the right word.
And usually lasts 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on
On the conversation.
Yeah. Okay. What it does. And that can help someone understand better, like where the programs that I offer fit in with their group or their organization, and can also give me a really good idea of, what their environment looks like. I'm not the only parent coach out there in the world. There may be somebody who's better suited to work with them. And like I shared earlier, I had this amazing peer group from, one end of the globe to the other, of other parent coaches too, that I would love to lift up and help them too. So that's just a good opportunity to get in and say, hey, what do you need? Right. And, here's what I offer. Does this fit with what your company needs or your organization or group needs? So the second offering that I have right now is a Ask the Parent Coach session. And that is priced based on how many people are going to want to be in it.
So it's a group. It's a group session.
It's always a group session.
Okay, always a group session.
I really don't do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I do
Mostly group. Yeah, it's lighter on the pocket for many people. Yeah.
Yep. And also, it's just really what I love and what I'm good at. And I think there's such a different vibe in group coaching where we're learning from each other. And
That's true. How do you get all these different people together for one date? I mean, some of them may be available, some of them may not be available, some may be prepared, not prepared. How do you get them all together? Do you have like a set schedule?
Yes, I do. So that will, for the Ask the Parent Coach, it'll be a single session.
Oh, okay.
And that will be one and done, or usually 2 hours, one and done. And if they want, if the company organization group wants to do another one, we can do another one. We can do a second session for the same group. We go do a first session for a new group, and just really give their their people an opportunity to taste what
Yeah.
parent coaching is, and okay, what's this mentor parent guide got? What she got in her bag of tricks, right?
So how do you approach your potential client? I mean, I know you said word of mouth, but other than that, getting a breakthrough into corporate world, it's not easy. Especially, we're a city right here with a lot of banks and technology firms and things like that. So getting a breakthrough to them, unless you have a contact, it's kind of tough. So how do you break the shackles?
Yeah, that has been so far how I've been networking, and I've been using
Referrals, okay.
Opportunities.
You contact the HR guys? Is that what it is?
Yeah, our HR teams, the EAP administrators, the benefits administrators.
EAP's Employee Assistance Program?
Yeah.
Okay, you got it.
I was like, oh. And then and that kind of flows into the third offering too, which is
Individual coaching?
no, the third offering is that parent engagement group. And the parent engagement group is a longer program. It's typically a 3-month program.
3 month.
If they want to renew, engage beyond 3 months, we can do that, just depending on what their group wants and needs.
So what are all the techniques and impacts that you have through your coaching?
Ooh, the techniques. So one of my favorite techniques is the iceberg.
Yeah.
And,
What's that?
So the iceberg technique, Mona de la Hook is where I first learned about the iceberg technique. And she's got a couple of books. There's a resources page on my website, mymomentor.com, that has a lot of great resources, and 2 of her books are on there. So the iceberg method is, the thing about an iceberg is what you see above the water is just the little teeny part of it, right? And what is below it is the big part. So her analogy is that little teeny part that you see above the water is a behavior. Mm-hmm. So say your kid's throwing a tantrum. Arian is kicking and screaming on the floor.
Right.
So I'd be a little concerned if I was kicking and screaming on the floor.
All right, maybe when you were younger. So that's the behavior, right? And we see that.
Right.
What we don't see is everything that's underneath that, which are his feelings.
Yeah.
That might be
Right.
going on, right? What's going on with him?
Behavior.
Maybe he feels left out because you started dinner without him, or you didn't get him the toy he wanted, or a number of things, right?
That's more like common. He's kidding.
So that's there's feelings there.
Right.
There's 3 things under that iceberg: feelings, the needs. What are his needs? What needs of his are not being met that moment? Holding him, giving him a hug, personal connection, physical connection, emotional connections can be in that category. And then what are the beliefs under that? Like, what are his beliefs at that moment?
Right.
I am not loved. I never get what I want. Some of those beliefs we grow into adults and have our own version of a temper tantrum as adults. So that whole iceberg analogy, I offer to parents to use to look at how they're seeing the behavior and what's underneath the behavior for their kiddos. Mm. And it's so valuable, too, in looking at our colleagues, our supervisors, our friends, our neighbors. What's under a behavior when your neighbor, there's their dog poop in your yard? Or, maybe they thought it was our dog poop, and maybe that's what they believed about it. And their feeling was they were mad that it was in their yard. And their need is to get it out of their yard, right?
Right.
So you can use it in so many ways. That's such a neat tool and I use it all the time, in a second, because I'm so familiar with it now.
Right.
And go, oh, it helps me not be as reactive as a mom, as a friend, as a colleague. And it also just gives us a pause, a little bit of a pause to go, okay, I see that little tip of the iceberg. I see that little behavior. What's going on under it?
Reasons. Yeah, one of the things about coaching is that, as you coach, you learn more about yourself. And, you tend to get acclimatized to the next set of parents who are coming to your way. So that's interesting. So you talked about some of the 4 keys, right?
Yeah.
Being self-aware, coachable, kind and insightful. How can parents actually incorporate into their daily lives these
Right.
4
So,
keys?
yeah, these were my 4 keys to creating powerful connection in my journey so far. And I read a lot of books. So they sort of roll away from the 4 agreements, which I really love. And just through my journey, I see that being self-aware has really helped me. It takes a lot of discipline and introspection and a willingness to really be aware of when I'm getting triggered. Oh, my neighbor threw dog poop in my yard. Right? And how to calm myself if that's happening. Like, okay, use your iceberg method, Heather. Like, think about what's going on here instead of being reactive. What matters to me? Like, what are my values? What really matters to me?
Right.
And that comes up a lot. That's one of the exercises I take parents through really early on in our coaching, is to help them understand what is most valuable to them personally and what is most valuable in their family. And that
Does meditation help in all of that for the parents?
so that's more of a self-care thing,
Okay, yeah.
but definitely a part of that self-care. And then the other piece of being self-aware is how I want to be treated is the last piece of that, being self-aware. Like, what is the boundary that I'm going to set here so that I can be caring for myself? The second way I create powerful connection is to be coachable. And I know I shared with you, I've had at least 15 coaches, probably more through my time. And I also read a ton, and I listen to books on Audible and just podcasts and anything that really can inspire me and help me learn something new. So being coachable takes an open mind, a willingness to learn and apply and grow and change, and to be coached and be mentored. Throughout my career, that has been something that has absolutely made a huge difference.
Awesome.
I've had many, many mentors, and I did 4 internships throughout college and looked for people to be mentored by. And it was such a impactful piece of my life so far. Number 3 was being kind. And sometimes that takes effort, so especially if someone's not being kind back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And then the other part of being kind is how am I being kind to me? Am I taking time to meditate and go to yoga and go for a walk and pet my dog and do self-care pieces in my life or make self-care important in my life? The 4th one is that be insightful. It takes situations to a whole new level when we're connecting with other people if we can be insightful. And the analogy about the iceberg has a great example of how to be insightful, right? Looking under a behavior, understanding what's going on there. I teach tools that help us to see underneath behaviors and see within a situation to identify kind of what someone's needing or feeling or believing in that space.
Right.
And then it's especially powerful for our families at home and at work. Beat both families.
Interesting. One last question before we take a small break. You did some certifications on youth mental health and suicide prevention. How actually do you integrate that into your coaching practice, especially with topics like anxiety and peer pressure And yeah, those
So I look at all of the training as my quiver. Pull my little arrows out of my quiver, whatever's needed.
We
in
call
that
it
space.
the weapon.
Yes, it holds my arrows.
Yeah.
And definitely not meant as a weapon holder, but a
Tactic.
a technique and a tool holder, because you're just, I mean, everyone is, I love the phrase, like, you be kind to everyone, you never know what somebody's going through.
Yeah.
And I
So
think that so often there are people that will tell you what's going on with them, and there are people that will suffer and will not tell you what's going on with them. And, I get to really look under what someone's saying to me, or, what they need, and understand better. And there's a lot of fear in all of us
Right.
about being imperfect, which all of us are imperfect. We're all perfectly imperfect, right? But, none of us are going to be a perfect parent or a perfect son or daughter or,
Yeah.
grandchild. And helping someone understand and normalize what they're going through is really just an amazing way that I get to use all of these tools that I've learned and help somebody learn them too.
Yeah. So you think they are necessary for the kind of role that you're in, or I'm asking again from so somebody wants to become a parent coach, maybe list down a few things that they should get themselves certified in, which will actually help them to do their role much better, like the ones that you did. Want to talk a little bit about that? Well, certifications.
Sure. So I've done quite a few. And I youth mental health first aid was a really amazing certification. So similar to if you went and got a CPR certification or a first aid certification, the strategies around that really are teaching me how to identify and how to be able to listen and refer them who is able and and a professional qualified to handle something really big. And there are not a lot of people struggle with access still
Okay.
to mental health professionals. Like I shared earlier, 1 in 2 people who have mental health challenges or are part of this youth mental health crisis in the United States have difficulty accessing help. Either there's a financial barrier, there's not enough people to go around. I've seen it exponentially blow up in the last month, even after the Western North Carolina devastation from Hurricane Helene. So many therapists and people who are trying to, be a emotional
PTSD.
Yeah, there's so much of that. And, I enjoy being able to help in the small way that I can. And a lot of times I call it triage.
Right.
Like, come to me and let's triage this. And if this is something that we can work through, great. And I know what my limits and my boundaries are. And I have a lot of resources to send somebody to if this is something that needs more attention.
So triage means just have an open discussion. Is that what it is?
So triage is, so in a hospital environment, when you go to triage, they kind of assess what's going on with the situation.
Diagnosis kind of.
Yeah, not a diagnosis. I don't do any of that.
Okay.
But just assess, like what's happening here, and
Conversations.
what are we looking at, and is this truly something that needs medical attention, or is this something that maybe needs
some professional intervention. Okay.
Yep. And that's great. Or is this something that we can work on together and see where it goes until we can get you into that? Or if I have clients that are averse. I don't want to be in therapy. I'm not interested in doing that. That's okay. Like, we'll normalize that that's where you are. And, I'm not a therapist. This is not therapy. This is coaching. And it's a different animal. I'm not diagnosing anyone on anything. I'm not
It's just having a discussion.
Yeah, I'm not prescribing any medicine. When things we do talk about childhood experiences,
Right.
like the parenting paradigms, for instance. A lot of times we get triggered from those kinds of things,
Right.
and if it's a deep trigger, if it's something really that needs more work, then I've got a lot of great resources to send people to somebody if they want to. Yeah.
Right. What are some of the trends and observations that you've observed over the years in parenting? There's like digital, especially the rise of digital influence. Kids tend to get or suicidal and kids like that. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's an interesting study that was just recent. Well, it was a Surgeon General opinion essay that I saw in New York Times back in August 2024 by Vivek Murthy, MD. He is our Surgeon General in the U.S. right now.
Vivek Murthy. Yeah.
Yes, and his quote was, "There's a critical need to address parent and caregiver mental health and well-being." And his advisory was really interesting to me, talking about what things are affecting our kids right now. I'm seeing this every day. I'm seeing this in my own life and with clients. There's an epidemic of loneliness that's going on, and it's not just with our kids, and it is really affecting our kids.
Do you think that is connected to digital age, people not meeting people?
To a degree. I also think the pandemic had an impact on this and created some fear, and at a pretty pivotal point in a lot of the children today's lives. So, if you were born in 2020 or 2019 even, what a different toddlerhood you had. What a different middle school experience you had, when you were going to be a middle schooler. What a different high school or college experience those people had, because there was, stay away from everybody and a lot of fear going on in that space.
Social distancing.
Yes. The youth mental health crisis it's prolific in the U.S. and, there's just a lot of anxiety and a lot of parents sharing in that space as well. It's not just our youth and our children, and how we model handling that for ourselves really affects them, right? So if I'm feeling very anxious and uncomfortable and I'm not doing anything about that, I'm just being anxious and being uncomfortable and being worrisome, it's teaching my children, my child, anyone around me. It's modeling that for them. So the youth mental health crisis is a result of a lot of adults also feeling a lot of mental health crisis. Technical and social media absolutely is affecting us. And it's affecting us, interestingly enough, from the research, in good ways and in bad ways. So when you couldn't be around your friends.
Yeah. Social media was the way to go.
Social media was a way you could still connect with them. When you couldn't be, hanging out with your friend on a Saturday, playing a video game with them through your Xbox, connecting is a way to still connect. It's not human connection, personal connection, physical connection, rather.
Digital.
But it's a connection.
Yeah.
So
something's better than nothing, but still, there's still that human interaction missing.
Yeah. So that, and then, we're all always on our phones. Well, I'll go into a restaurant and I'll just be curious as I look around and see, like that entire table of that whole family, the two little, 4-year-old and 6-year-old are on their tablet and the parents are both on their phone. And that, that moment where you could be talking about something or, having that connection together at the table is leaving.
I'm guilty of it too. So very often when we go to restaurants, we are on our phone. It's not good.
Yeah, we have a boundary at my house. Like at dinner time, the phone gets put away.
It's good. Yeah, so that leads me to the next question, How do you address these challenges?
Can I touch on one more thing before we
Sure,
move
yeah,
on?
go ahead.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. So after the technical and social media, the culture of comparison is another really big struggle that our U.S. Attorney General is even bringing up, and it is really prolific in our world. Like when you go on social media, there's a tendency to see what other people are doing, probably the best of what the other people are doing, right? And comparing ourselves to them, or feeling less because we don't have a boat and they do, or feeling less because, they just lost 30 pounds and I want to, there's just such a, it's toxic in that comparison culture. And
Right.
I think that it is even more common in today's culture.
Just peer pressure, basically.
Yeah, he's kind of like peer pressure, and being, I don't know, being unkind. Back to my kindness to others and to ourselves, right? Like, be kind to ourselves. Be kind to myself. If so, Deb bought a boat. Oh, that's amazing, awesome for him. I wonder if he'll ever take me out on his boat, right? Like, it's right. It's one of those moments where, at every opportunity we have to compare ourselves, if we can choose a different path,
Right.
to say, I'm really happy for them. They got engaged. I'm really happy for, and really not, and it's not about me, right?
It's basically just accepting that, there are better things for you, and you don't have to be pressured into by what others are going through or whatever.
And it's been around forever. I mean, I can remember being
Yeah.
in middle school and, I want some Guess jeans. I don't care if my entire summer of babysitting money is going to go to one pair of Guess jeans, right? I need the Guess jeans. Now it's a $900 iPhone, or
Yeah, absolutely. And
there's
people want Teslas. Teenagers want Teslas. So how do you address these challenges? Coming back to that question.
Yeah. So like that example that I just gave to you, where we just change how we're looking at something, right? And it takes practice.
Yeah, it does.
Like anything, right? If you don't become good at baseball overnight, you don't become great at developing a podcast overnight. But it takes a lot of preparation, a lot of work, and you don't grow your business overnight either. It's a process. So same thing applies, that we get to practice taking a different path. And I think of it that way too. A lot of the choices that we make can just be a different path than what we took the last time.
Interesting. Slightly towards the end of our discussion, but what kind of advice do you have for aspiring coaches or aspiring parent coaches, and also for the parents?
So, advice for aspiring coaches: have a great coach. Number one.
Have a great coach. Coach for the coach.
Yep.
Okay.
Always have a coach.
Because they'll guide you how to start your coaching business. I think to it.
And make sure that coach has a coach.
Oh, okay.
The best coaches have coaches.
Really? Yeah.
And are interested in growing and learning. And so.
Advice for the parents?
Advice for the parents. So those 4 keys that I shared would be really good advice for the parents. And those are: be self-aware, be coachable, be kind, and be insightful.
Nice.
As a parent, we look at everything through a specific lens, and that lens is ours. Like, you're looking through your glasses at me right now. Those are your lens. And all of the life experiences and upbringing and childhood memories and moving to a new country and all of those pieces
Right.
and your career and your business experiences, they're all built into that lens that you look at everything through. And our children are the same way. Like, we are looking at them through that same lens.
True.
And if we're not careful, we might not be seeing them clearly. We might need to clean that lens a little bit.
Right.
One of my favorite things that I've told my son this since he was very young, I share with him that he's driving his own car. This was way before he got his driver's license, which has been a whole new ball game, right? He's driving his own car, and his dad and I and other adults in his life, teachers, grandparents, people who care about him and love him, are guardrails. And he is driving that car all along. And it's really neat for me to see, now that he's getting a little older and a little more mature, that he kind of gets that, and he is making different choices for himself. And I mean, that's what I want as a parent. I want him to be driving his own car. Not that he's going to drive it and leave me and go away, I'm not afraid of that or worried about that. And I'm really intent on making a great connection with him and knowing that even when he does drive off in his car, he's safe and he has a connection with me. And
Right.
And he has guardrails all times. He has guardrails around him that are helping him.
That makes sense. So coming back to Momentor, what are your visions and goals for Momentor? Or do you want to take it from there, like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now?
That's a big question. I'm retooling a little bit right now. So my vision at the moment, once I am at capacity, I would really like to share my model with other parent coaches and really help other parent coaches. Yeah. To grow in the same way. And be able to be successful and be able to use, I see the advantage that I have having marketing background and sales background and the confidence that came from being an entrepreneur for 22 years and a serial entrepreneur, having opened several different businesses along the way too. I have an advantage, in the business sense. And many of my peers in the parent coaching world have not had that advantage. And even if they have, this is kind of a whole new ball game for them and then for me moving into parent coaching. So it's neat I really love to lift other people up, and I think you shared that.
Yeah, we do get that.
And I really feel like I can do that, and I want to do that for other parent coaches and other types of coaches too, if they're aligned in their mission.
So along that lines, if you were to give one takeaway for new coach or new business owner, looking back at your journey so far, what would you advise them not to do, and what would you advise them to do, to take one step at a time, so that they can, increase their chances of succeed faster?
What not to do, I would say do not burn bridges.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
That's not a great way to go, which, goes back to the whole being kind, right? Be kind and be open to what's out there for you. There's a story I share, and it's kind of neat because it relays how I've approached business in the past and currently. So I really strive to support other people. For instance, a couple of coaches that I know had a retreat recently, and I somehow fell off the radar and realized it was coming up, or thought I had missed it, and found out, I was still in time and I was able to go, and was really thrilled to be able to go and to support these other coaches in their first retreat. And that has been very consistent for me through my career. Another neat example is I had a friend through one of the networking groups that I was in. She was a professor. And she said, I have a colleague who teaches some language or something, and he wants to become a designer. And I just was thinking of you, and I know you've been in this industry a long time. And I said, absolutely, give him my name. And I sat down with him, and I looked at his portfolio, and we had coffee and talked and had the most amazing conversation. Younger guy, like, I don't know, 5-10 years younger than me. And I was probably my 30s when we were having this conversation. And so, he wanted to switch careers. And I gave him some advice on his portfolio. I wasn't all like, yes, it's amazing. It was, here are some things you want to do
Right.
with your portfolio. And he was really happy and thankful for that. And maybe 6 months later, I got a call from him. And he said, hey, I'm working for Charlotte Ballet. And we are rebranding. And the person that we had working on our rebranding, just took a full-time job and isn't going to be able to do it. Can you come in tomorrow and do an interview? And I was like, and after I go through the whole, like, can I do that big of a project? And I went and interviewed, and I got the opportunity to work with them and do their rebranding. And it was so neat because from that one offering of going to meet with Jack is his name, with Jack and look at his portfolio, I got multiple opportunities with NC Dancier, which is Charlotte Ballet now, IBM. I had to do some work with them, and like it just kept snowballing, like in a good way, uphill.
You never know what that one trigger could lead to.
Right. And just being willing to give of your time and give of your energy to someone else.
Be helpful.
Big. Yeah.
It does definitely help. Any final thoughts on or final advice to the parents? One thing that you want them to take away from being a parent coach?
Yes. Really good one. So 2 things are really important. Love and invest.
Love
in your kids. Invest in their success.
Emotionally.
Yep. Invest in them emotionally. Invest in their needs. Invest in how they feel about themselves.
Right.
And love them unconditionally. Clean that lens if you have to. Clean it. And just really see them for who they are. It's not always easy,
Yep.
It's not always easy to look beyond the way that we see the world.
Right.
I love the phrase, we see the world as we are, not as it really is.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's been a game changer for me. And I've been doing this work since 2008-ish.
Right.
Myself, and then about 2012 on my parenting. And I've learned so much about myself in that process. It was neat because it was at Parenting with Peace class that I went to. And I walked in the door thinking I was going to figure out how to fix my kid and make him,
The way you want.
be the way that I wanted, right? And align with my ideas and my thinking.
It's not about that, it's about him.
Right.
Yeah.
It was such an eye-opener. Well, it was really about me and me figuring out my stuff and what lens I was looking through
Right.
to see him and cleaning it off. And I had an amazing friend who helped me through that, and she worked with me, she worked with him, and it was such a different
So I hope
view. Yeah, such a different view when I did the work on myself to see him different.
absolutely. Sometimes you just need those little trigger moments that will change the way you think. Okay. Very cool. It was deep. Thank you so much. But we'd still have one more section to go, which is the rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And I hope you will love it. So, one word that describes your parenting style.
Power with. Is that
Power with.
That's
No.
2 words.
2 words.
Sorry.
We can make it 1 word.
But hyphenated word.
Hyphenated word. What's a go-to activity for you and your family to connect?
Ooh, so it used to be hiking. Now my teenager will no longer go hiking with me. So feeding him really is how we connect. He loves to eat. He loves to cook, and
Love to cook too?
he loves to cook. Yep, he loves to cook for me. He makes a big mess, and I'm okay with that because he's cooking for me. He is, and yeah, and it's one of his soothing techniques. Like
It's a therapeutic, right? So
it is. And he's, 16 and 6'3" and very hungry. So-
right. Cool. The best piece of advice you have ever received. I know you give a lot of advice to parents, but this time, what did you receive as a parent?
Kristen Oliver taught the Parenting with Peace class that I took way back when. And she had a session with my kiddo, and she said, "Your child is so amazing." And it was like a moment, like I felt a little emotional, even like saying it. And I thought, wow, like someone else sees my kid. And even though I'm worried and looking through this lens where I think that I'm not doing the right things as a mom, and I'm, maybe not parenting him well, and then someone else to
Comes and gives
recognize and see my child. That was really powerful moment. Yeah.
Now I no wonder why you call your company as my momentor. You have those beautiful moments in your life, and then
We all do that. I'm sure you do too.
yeah, sure. Coffee or tea to get through your day?
Chai tea.
Chai tea,
Yep. Not
cinnamon, not sweet.
sweet. Yeah, lots of cinnamon, cardamom. Not super sweet. Like a little bit of sweet, but a little honey in it.
A habit you're most proud of?
I am kind of a clean freak, so maybe that
Like-
yeah, well, not quite OCD, but I like I can't go to bed if there's dishes in the sink. I don't know if that's a clean habit or a bad habit, but it's my
It's a good habit. It's your habit. Yeah. Early riser or night owl?
I am both.
Both.
Yes, and that's
Should
not
we-
good. I should sleep more.
So are you saying that you're a night owl and early riser on the same day?
Yes.
My God. How do you manage?
Yeah, like I said, I need more sleep.
The most rewarding part of being a parent, a coach.
Hearing how someone's relationship has changed between them and their child. Yes, their children, and hearing their epiphanies and the moments when they really see themselves and see what is different with their kiddo.
Cool. A favorite quote that inspires you?
I have one that I carry around with me. I've had it since college. One of my college professors said to me, I told him I was bored with something. So he was a art professor, and we were drawing this same still life over and over and over again for like weeks. And, sit at a different table or a different desk and like draw it from, it's in the center of the room. And I was like, this is so boring. His name was Professor Don Kerr. And Don Kerr came over to me and he said, first he asked me where I was from. I don't know if he thought I was from, so he thought I was from another country, which it was really quite funny to me. I'm like, okay. And then he said, boredom is a sign of an uncreative mind. And I don't know if that was his quote or if he got that from somewhere else. And I thought, I don't ever want to be bored again. That was so motivating for me to I ever want anybody to
Tell me that I'm
not creative, right? I'm not bored.
Yeah.
And I, I've shared that with my kiddo, and I've shared it with lots of friends. If they say they're bored, I'm like,
Boredom
We
is
can be creative and figure out something.
boredom is a sign of a non-creative mind.
Yes.
Wow, profound. An activity that you would recommend parents do to de-stress themselves.
So many good ones. Really, it depends on what they like to do. I've had a lot of parents share some of their, we call them soothing techniques
Right.
in my world. Everything from meditation to exercising to going for a drive in their car, pushing their kid on a swing, taking a shower, taking a bath. There's so many things that differ between us and how we feel soothed or how we relax.
And one thing that I want to try is, I don't know what's the term called. It's called an iced bath. An ice bath.
Yeah.
I heard that's pretty relaxing and very soothing.
You did?
No, I didn't do it. I heard that. It's, I
I mean, you heard that.
want to try that one day.
Oh, good. I think they have them at Costco. I saw they had the little blow up tub filled with ice water. I don't know. Let me know how that goes. I've always wanted to try it, but I'm scared because I do not like the cold at all.
I want to try that in winter. Not in summer.
So the polar plunge.
Yeah.
See, that's backyard. We're all in a polar plunge.
Hey, that's something that I've done. Did I tell you I've done Vipassana before? Vipassana is like a 10-day silent retreat. You cannot talk to anyone. You wake up in the morning, 4:30, and then you sleep at 9:30. In between, you cannot talk to anyone, and you do meditation throughout the day. Second day, a lot of people leave the place because they cannot cope up with it. But I stood there I was there in that camp for about 10 days. Wow. It was just incredible.
How did it affect you? Like, what did...
I got some reality check and then I got back to my senses. I became less materialistic and started appreciating the world more. I don't get bogged down by, what somebody else has got more or than me, or those materialistic stuff don't bother me anymore. And I don't chase money any longer. I chase the passion, and money is just a byproduct. So that gave me a lot of perspective into how I should be dealing with my relationships and things like that. With Vipassana, they have one in Georgia. It's pretty close by, 5 hours over here, or 6, yeah.
So is that a way that you soothe yourself? Like, do you go
No.
to silent meditation?
I used to do that after I came back, but then life came into it. This was about 6 to 8 years ago. And then, 2017, I think. But after that, I do occasionally. And it is, even that meditation is about 1 hour meditation that you have to do every day on a particular time. Last few years I have not done. I want to restart that at some point. But it is very, very, very impactful.
I try to meditate every morning, even if it's 10 minutes. And sometimes it's guided, sometimes it's not. That's really one of my soothing techniques. It really
Right.
just changes my whole day when I do it.
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of difference. Your guilty pleasure.
Oh, my guilty pleasure. So, I really love dark chocolate. I would say, like, the dark sea salt.
The darkened.
Chocolate, yeah, like, the darker the better. Like, bitter, a little salt, with like chunky salt on the top.
What they call an iodine or something. What's that salt called? Sea salt?
Yeah, the sea salt.
Okay.
Like, chunky one.
A place you would love to travel for a family vacation.
Anywhere. I mean, met with the cat loves recently. Yeah, I'm taking a trip next week with my bestie. We've been besties since 7th grade, and she and I are going to take a trip for a big birthday that we both have. And like a family trip, though, I would really go anywhere as long as there was adventure.
Yeah, of course.
That has to be a part of it, like outdoor adventure stuff to do, rappelling upside down into a cavern, like
Yeah,
Yeah.
zip liners.
yeah.
or paddling. Like I love to be on the water, paddleboard or kayak.
Very cool. Any final thoughts? We're winding up. So any final thoughts to anyone out there listening to you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for listening to me.
You've been great. Thank you for coming. And we hope to have you again on a different subject. We'll go deep into some of these other things that you're doing. But it was a fantastic first one, and we really appreciate you coming all the way.
Thank you.
We'll look forward to having you more here.
I'd love that. Back. Thanks for having me.
Hey guys, I hope you really liked the video, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and comment. And we would like to reach many more small business owners. I would really appreciate if you can share the video with them as well. Thank you, and see you until next time. Have a great one.